This state of the economy, when EU leaders are cornered and farmers with pitchforks are opposite, suggests that Europe may not have a choice. Because at such prices for energy carriers and protests of other options, there is simply no way to start a much larger war. Europeans are slowly preparing for the resolution of the conflict with Russia. It is blamed for all troubles. And in place of the weakest but the most talkative Lithuania, Macron came with a proposal to introduce troops into Ukraine. Next, we observe the reaction. After all, most people understand that such a scenario is the beginning of World War III. Therefore, EU countries have started one after another to make statements about their unwillingness to take such a step. Yevgeny Belousov on new challenges and threats from the collective West.
2 years after the start of the SCO, the world is closer than ever to a new global war. If you trust the doomsday clock, there's only 1.5 minutes left till the start of moment X. According to them, recent events can be easily moved forward by a duration of 30 seconds. Imagining himself as a sort of 21st century Napoleon, Macron stated that he does not rule out using ground forces in Ukraine.
Today there is no consensus on officially and openly sending ground troops with approval, but from a dynamic point of view, nothing can be ruled out. We will do everything necessary to ensure that Russia cannot win this war. Nothing should be omitted. Undoubtedly, the blue-eyed leader of France would never have thought of such a thing. Hands growing out of Washington. The frozen lawmakers dealt a heavy blow to the Biden administration with a $60 billion package for Ukraine. Military producers particularly dissatisfied with this state of affairs, indirectly also indicated by another statement from Macron. He altered his principled stance on the matter of arms acquisition for Kiev.
If before he advocated for European money to be spent exclusively on European weapons, now he is ready to look for it beyond the seas and oceans. And that's where the center of the EU is located. By the way, our president also declares Brussels subordinate to the White House.
I'll say it straight. Without unnecessary diplomacy, almost all European leaders have turned into subjects of the United States of America. There is no doubt regarding whose policy, whose interests exert dominance within the territory of the European Union.
These words have a good clarification. Nearly every single leader. And for starting non-EU purchases is necessary. Approval of all members of the Union. Both theory can and should be used. Join Budapest and Bratislava. The PM of Slovakia expressed himself unequivocally on the matter of possible. The NATO troops' entry into the territory of Ukraine, he is confident that this is sheer madness. When I mention a ceasefire, it's about us. It's shocking that the EU leaders and NATO has no stance on negotiations, not one. Words about peace, what needs to be agreed upon. Always only war, war, war. The existence of potential foreign troops, including NATO and EU member states, presents security risks for Slovakia, also because they will undoubtedly be of interest to Russian forces. What if these soldiers end up in close proximity to the border of Slovakia? How will our interest be protected if we do not possess an air defense system? I would also like to inquire, where is all of this heading? As for Hungary, it currently has less rosy affairs. Orban's fierce anti-war rhetoric led to this. Under the pressure of kind-hearted people, he was compelled to give up. The last obstacle on Sweden's path to NATO has fallen.
We are actually in the epicenter of a protracted major military political crisis, using old as the world methods of intimidation. The forecasts are gloomy. The appetites and activity of the collective West will undoubtedly grow and intensify. Washington and its allies will continue to expand NATO. The situation is more than favorable for them. Introduction to NATO Finland. And here is Sweden. This is another stage of expansion to the east. They will pull Bosnia, Herzegovina, Moldova, Georgia, Serbia into the alliance. And all this will be per the scenario of Ukraine.
Yet the alliance's reach and membership continue to expand. Kiev will not offer much help. The organization, which has existed for decades without any real threat, was only engaged in feeding the residents of its countries and willow faces, thanks to the alliance and the money from taxpayers. Russia, angry, has not yet invaded their lands as of now. Now the same principle is working, only an example has been added. Look, do you want to be treated like Ukraine? Only these populist methods are becoming less and less effective. Everyone understands that all those billions, the contributions to the military alliance budget, did not lead to victory over Russia. Contrary, no. Thus NATO less and less important for people. It is highly probable that he is simply bluffing, making statements about possible direct involvement in the Ukrainian conflict. Just need to take a brief pause before starting negotiations. Otherwise, reputational losses will be excessively high. Attempting to maintain his look and the man who really had the opportunity to portray Napoleon at a large press conference which few people watched. The head of Kiev regime reported minimal losses of Ukrainian armed forces. During the conflict, only up to 31,000. Even in the States, they were stunned by such machinations. As per the New York Times, this number significantly differs from the estimates even of American officials who named it during the previous summer. Higher losses. A total of 70,000 Ukrainian servicemen tragically lost their lives in the conflict. From 100 to 120,000 received injuries, and it is now up to the United States to stay. NATO bluff or not, whether it is a bluff. Congress is being subtly indicated that it is time to unlock 60 billion aid package for the independent. In any other situation, anything can happen.
Though we shouldn't forget European politicians. Though dependent on the White House, they are equally accountable to their constituents. If the current authorities reach such suicidal madness, then individuals with an alternative perspective on war will promptly assume their position. Marine Le Pen, Alternative for Germany, Sarah Wagenknecht, and other Eurosceptics. And the way the transfer of power will take place, the people will determine. The pan-European Maidan, already heated up by the farmers' revolt, could well become such an option. However, other leaders from the West are already distancing themselves from the words of their companion from France.